Hello, friends, and welcome to Binge O'Clock, the podcast where we watch something and then we talk about it. I'm Joy Selden, and I've seen almost everything.
I'm Danielle and Joy, and I've seen almost nothing.
And here we are in season 3. If you're new to Binge O'Clock, yeah, we have, our season 1 was Almost Human. Our season 2 was Fringe, which Nella joined us for, which was amazing. I can't believe I made her watch that entire show.
What a journey.
Yep.
So many twists and turns. And now we have taken yet another, I think, kind of hard left, based on the little bit of this show I've seen, with our season 3.
I feel like this is also true. So, yes, so with season 3, we are watching Kipo and the Age of the Wonderbeasts, which is currently out now on Netflix. Mm-hmm. You can watch all 3 seasons or watch along with us. For this episode, we watched season 1, episodes 1 through 4. Mm-hmm. And I think we're going to kind of break it up like that and just watch 3 to 4 episodes per hour episode because they're short. They're like 22-minute episodes, but so much happens. Mm-hmm. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. So just to recap, for those of you, if you're new to the show, we watch something and talk about it, as we've mentioned. And the criteria we're looking for in a TV show is something that has sort of run its course, whether it's canceled or ended too early, or if it just has a resolution within, say, 1 to 5 seasons that we can just talk about and really sink our teeth into and discuss on the show as buds, as friends. Buds. And so for this show, as I mentioned, each of our episodes will cover about 3 to 4 episodes of Kipo and generally talk about the plot. In my opinion, Kipo does a really good job about straddling that line between Monster of the Week and serial. No, episodic, serial. It's serial when they all connect. So, yes. Serial episodes. I swear I've watched a ton of TV and I know the terms. I swear I know what I'm talking about.
I believe you, Joy. Well, that reminds me, because we are in this season also going back to the original format of this show, which is Joy has seen this thing and Danielle has not seen this thing.
Also true. So yes, if you have your bingo cards, go ahead and mark off your freebie. Mm-hmm. Danielle has not seen this show. She has not seen this show. But so obviously this is your first watch of the show. Had you heard anything about Kipo and the Age of the Wonderbeasts before?
Not really. Honestly, mostly from you two. Mostly from you two telling me I need to watch this show. And me constantly saying, I will, I promise, I'm going to add it to the ever-growing list. But there's too much TV out there. So here we go. Now we have an excuse. And I have a deadline.
It's true. Welcome to the nutshell of why I wanted to start this podcast. Make Danielle watch the thing. That we can talk about it like friends do. Mm-hmm.
Forced recorded conversation. Is that what friends do?
That's what we do. Friendship is what you make it, Danielle.
A lesson I'm sure Kipo will teach us. Did I like it? Am I liking it? Is that what you asked?
Yes. Are you liking it so far? You know, because I know I am. I know it can be kind of a lot. You know, Kipo sort of drops you into the story and like you just kind of go with everything as it happens. So
no.
Some people like that, some people don't.
I'm liking it a lot. I think that, and we can get a little bit more granular as we continue through the rest of this podcast episode, but I think that the first episode didn't super hook me. Like if I had been casually flipping through Netflix looking for something new to watch, I'm not 100% sure. Then again, I always give a show a few episodes before I quit. I would never just watch one episode and be like, nope, get me out of here, unless it specifically had an element that I disagreed with. But the first episode I didn't love. And then as soon as we hit episode 2, I feel like the show hit a really nice rhythm and a nice stride, met a few really fun characters. And yeah, I'm totally invested. I also think, and I don't know how strategic you were about this, but having us watch episodes 1 through 4, I thought was great because that felt like all the intro episodes. Like now we've met all the main crew, I assume, unless, our found family grows a little further along the way. And we've also gotten like a nice little introduction to who I assume is going to be the big bad in the show. So great.
Yeah. And this show, again, this show does a really good job of not only giving you something to deal with every episode, because there is like something specifically for Kipo to deal with in every episode, and how she deals with it, as opposed to because she's the fish out of water character here, right? She's the one like thrown into the deep end and it's sink or swim. So it is interesting to have like one new element that we learn along with Kipo about this world.
Every episode.
But
then also some of those new elements carry over, which I was, again, happy to see. Because I feel like, okay, now we're just going to have to get into it. Because I feel like if in episode 2, they had met Benson and Dave, and then Benson and Dave hadn't joined the crew, they had just moved on, I would have been like, oh, is this kind of show? Or even Jamak, right? Who I feel like... And the other mod frogs, wow. And the other mod frogs. We got to spend 2 episodes with them. Then we met the cats at the end of episode 2. And I was like, wait, so it's 1 episode on, well, just introing Kipo and Wolf. Episode 2, mod frogs. Episode 3, cats. Is it just a new group of animals every episode? But actually, no. I think that I agree with you. There is an actual overarching situation that's going on here.
Yeah. And I think somebody who's not necessarily paying attention could just call it like, it has a formula where like, something new happens every time. But it's like you have the urgency, right? And and we'll get into that in a second. Like, I promise we're going to get into the summary, I swear. But like you have Kipo's urgency, which pushes the plot forward. And then you just have this completely new world to her. And it makes sense that it would be like one giant new thing after another without being like, and today we're fighting vampires and maybe talking about our feelings a little bit. And tomorrow we're fighting werewolves. Like it has a flow that I think a lot of TV shows strive for. And I think Kipo really nails, which is partially why I like it. And I keep rewatching it over and over again. Like I have a problem.
I am curious, and I don't necessarily want you to answer this right now because I feel like I maybe just want to wait and see what happens. But I am curious about whether this show delves into the feelings more as things continue, because we haven't had a lot of feelings so far. And I'm so used to watching shows that really are all about the feelings.
Also true.
I don't know. What's Fringe. Another animated show? Or I was even thinking animated shows.
Centaur World?
Centaur World, feelings.
Steven
Universe, all trauma, anxiety, all over the place. Or Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's like episode 1, genocide,
Yeah, exactly.
And here...
Well, here and exactly
I haven't gotten that here yet.
This can lead us right into the summary, because one of the first things you learn about Kipo is how optimistic she is. And like, I really like that she's a very glass half full kind of person. And it makes sense for her character, right? Like, it doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel like something she's putting on for others or for something else. Like, she just is the kind of person who's like, and then I'm going to do the next thing and the next thing. And she has this very positive, upbeat attitude, which is hilarious because everything on the planet is post-apocalyptic and the buildings are crumbling and the cars are covered in dust. And
right, exactly. But that happened so many hundreds of thousands of years ago that everyone's just kind of like, well, the humans used to live on the surface and now they don't,
It's so funny because it's so funny that you say like, and who knows how long it's actually been, because I often think about that question and I'm like, we'll have to keep an eye out for it in the show. I actually don't know if they actually answer the question of how long it's been, but like long enough for the majority of humans to be living underground and in these small, what like socialist communities of,
long
would you
enough
like to
that
do
there
today?
Are long enough that there are generations of people who have never seen the sky, and long enough that some of these generations of people have written books and
right. I just love the idea that, like, write a book about astronomy, but you've never seen the stars, right? Like,
I love that.
you know?
Yeah. And I don't know if this is purposeful with the characters we've seen so far, but I feel like the pigmentation of the burrow humans is very different from the pigmentation of the characters that live on the surface, you know? Like Kipo and her dad both have redder eyes, which maybe is a little bit genetic, but also maybe is a little bit, their eyes didn't need it. Their eyes don't really need as much pigment because they aren't really exposing themselves to the sun.
Exactly. They're not.
So how many generations does that take? You know what I mean?
Great questions. No, these are amazing questions. Yeah, I would be curious if we should keep an eye out to see how long it's been. Because I don't, to be fair, that isn't something I would pick out and be like, that one fact about the burrow. Kipo is pink. Her hair is pink. She's pink. That will sort of come into play later. But like, I like that she's pink and sort of already like singled out as someone not from the surface, right? Like it's not just the way she acts, it's the way she looks.
Oh yeah. Wait, I know why I think it's been a couple hundred years. I think it's been a couple hundred years because of the expiration date on the milk.
Yes. Because I love that milk. It not only, like, first of all, the milk wouldn't even be there, right? It would be evaporated. But I love, because it's a cartoon, it's just like a jar of glass. And she, like, turns it over and shatters on the ground. I'm like, oh my God.
We don't know how advanced society was when society crumbled. You know, I mean, you know, there were still like old school vending machines and stuff, clearly, but that could have been non-cow milk. That could have been something special that really does take tons of time to expire.
You know, it could have. I didn't even think of that. It could have been like almond milk or oat milk. Or something.
Exactly. Or milk, like apple pill milk.
Apple pill milk. Really is a dystopia.
Okay. We said we would summarize, and then we expressly did not summarize.
Actually, what I am going to do is do a real quick, like, I actually really love the IMDb. A girl explores the possibility of a post-apocalyptic world. The possibilities in a post-apocalyptic world, like... I love how optimistic that summary is, right? Like,
I mean,
there are
perfect.
possibilities.
It's perfect
they
for the
exist.
show. Because if you, like, really think about it, it's like, so human society has completely collapsed. Every animal is giant and has multiple eyes and multiple legs because of some kind of radiation poisoning or something. You know, like, clearly something's going on there. Although I do think it's kind of weird that none of the humans have, like, extra arms, eyes, etc. So far, at least.
Sure.
We only have animals with extra appendages.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
And that are extra big. Why haven't I seen a giant woman? Why haven't I seen a giant woman? Where are they?
I just want to see a giant woman, Danielle. I just want to see a giant woman. These mutations, which I guess is basically what they are, right? The mutations tend to only affect the animals. And without getting into too many spoilers, I think the show addresses some of that, or at least what humans, either the observance from humans at this and like their reaction to it, or, you know, trying to figure out what causes it and where does it come from and that kind of thing. I do think it's interesting that animals, for the most part, have a much faster life cycle. So you would see, like you would see a more extreme change in animals before you saw it in humans, which isn't to say that humans hadn't mutated, but their mutation might just be slower. And I don't remember, that's a good question. I don't remember if they actually talk about the cause of the mutation. It is, being a post-apocalyptic, it doesn't get into too much about the apocalypse. You're just kind of like, wow, everything looks really crappy. I guess the apocalypse happened. You're welcome.
Crappy or wonderful, depending on whether you're Kipo or us, the audience. Or Wolf, for that matter. Okay, wait. So episode 1, Burrow Girl, starts with Kipo bursting from a water pipe. And suddenly she's on the surface. She thinks the sun will blind her, and it doesn't. And she's immediately our fish out of water. There we go.
There it is. We've established it. We've done it.
We've established it.
After a clothing montage.
Oh, I love the clothing montage.
I do too. I love it so much.
And the snail car.
Yes.
The audience can't, the listeners can't see the motions I'm making with my hands, but I was making snail car motions with my hands.
They were very descriptive.
No, I think that she just immediately starts exploring the world around her, just completely ignorant to everything that could possibly kill her or could possibly be dangerous. She's just drinking water, eating food, petting animals.
What did you think of Mandu?
Mandu's so cute.
I love Mandu. Mandu's my favorite. So she meets this pig with extra eyes and extra feet. Uh-huh. And he's very sort of skittish, and he runs away from her when she advances on him. But the first thing she wants to do is pet him, and it's adorable.
So cute. Like, I'm gonna pet that pig.
Yes. And this becomes her mission, essentially becomes her mission for the first episode, or at least like the A plot.
Yeah, I think so.
She befriends this pig, and like the pig's hungry, and she finds a vending machine, and she breaks open the vending machine by knocking it over, which was not her intention, but it does the trick. And
eats some to the 300-year-old snacks.
Yes. Right. Which apparently are still good. Like, it seems to be the kind of thing that everyone has been eating, right? Like, we have vending machines like this down in my borough, and I'm like, but what do you fill it up with? Do you just have chips from, 400-year-old chips? Like, what?
From the before times? Or maybe they've, made their own bags of chips somehow, like they've figured out how to vacuum seal and package things. Because, like, listen, they all have guitars. Where do the guitar strings come from? Those things really only last so long. So clearly someone has learned how to do something.
Exactly.
I wonder whether the Burrow folk did the correct thing, which is either when the apocalypse is about to happen or directly after the apocalypse happens, the first thing you do is gather your tradespeople. Gather your people who know how to sew. Gather your people who know how to cook. Gather your people who know how to
farm.
grow.
Yeah.
Exactly. Get them all together. Just do it. Like Pokemon. Collect them all. And then you survive. And it's like, you are a metal worker. I'm taking you. You, please.
Yeah, exactly. I'm taking you. You will provide us the guitar strings that we so desperately need, which is obviously top on our list. I love that everyone in the post-apocalypse is a guitar player.
Yes, specifically the guitar.
Specifically the guitar. It's just a very specific skill that everybody gained in the post-apocalypse. But so she befriends this pig. And she names him Mandu because he looks like the adorable little dumplings that her father makes. And, like, who hasn't named a pet, like, dumpling? Like, after a food object,
After a food. And so cute that her dad makes Korean dumplings. I definitely wanted some Korean food after I watched that first episode.
So much. And we also learn that, like, not only is she, like, she's also obviously scared and cautious, right? But not nearly as cautious as she should be, probably.
Like, is she cautious? I don't know that I would call her caught.
She was cautious initially, and then the sun didn't blind her.
And then she was like, well, clearly everything I've been told about the surface being dangerous is a lie.
Yeah, right. And she's like talking to this pig because there's no one else around currently. And like we also find out that her father is a teacher, that she's very smart, and that she's like so multi-layered so quickly, right? And the bees. I just love the bees. The bees who essentially
the
speak
raving
in hip hop.
bees.
The raving bees.
The raving bees. I mean,
Oh
okay, you like the bees. I like the bunnies.
I mean, the bunnies are
Like,
adorable.
come on. Rebecca, the mom bunny, whose whole thing is, if something smells like a baby bunny and the baby bunny is not near me, I will do whatever it takes to go and find a baby bunny.
I need to go find that baby bunny.
Find a baby bunny.
It's a mega bunny. Rebecca is a mega bunny. Okay, so there are levels of mute, right? Mondu is probably like a relatively low level mute. She seems kind of young, but she also seems like she knows what she's doing. And we get that immediately. I love Mondu. We'll see this later, but I feel like Mondu and Wolf are the same. Like they are just the same character, but one of them happens to be a tiny pig who can't speak, and the other one happens to be like a feral child.
A feral child who just chooses not to speak. No.
Who chooses not to speak for the most part, be as silent as possible. I love that Mondu's first reaction when she's like, I'm gonna go pet those bunnies, is don't you dare. Because Mondu understands you do not pet the babies. You don't touch them, because then you get the baby smell on you, and then mother comes to find you wherever it is you are. And steal you and bring you back to her litter. Yeah, because you are her baby. So cute.
So cute. And this is about the point in the episode where we meet Wolf. Because Wolf captures Mondu.
Yep.
As Mondu is, I don't know, scavenging for something to eat.
Yeah, was caught in a trap that Wolf set. Was snatched up into the air. And put over a fire. And one of the first, I love that one of the first things we learn about Wolf is like, hey, if you can talk, you're not food. So all you got to do is say something. And we just get like,
eat you.
And then I will not eat you. And we just get an oink, which is so cute. So she lights the fire.
Everyone has a line, and that's Wolf's. If you can talk, you can't be eaten.
If you can talk, you can't be eaten. And I like, because we haven't met too many mutes yet, now we know there's another category of mute where it's like you're an animal, but you can talk and probably like walk around like a person, you know, which eventually we meet. I think Jamak is the first one we meet like that.
Yeah. Jamak is the first one we meet for sure. So it's a little bit of a surprise the first time Jamak talks, which I think is kind of great because it's a surprise for Kipo too, right? Because all along, every single mute we've met has just been a giant animal or an animal who has extra appendages or eyes or this and that. Let's just quickly say, for the purpose of plot, that Wolf agrees to help Kipo find her family because Kipo basically almost dies twice in 3 seconds. And Wolf is like, all right, you know what?
Well, you know, it's like it's that age-old question of like, but if I walk away, it's basically tantamount to murder because you literally won't survive without me. You know, like
exactly.
I can't leave you to your own devices. You're just too inexperienced and naive. So Wolf takes it upon herself to help her get home.
Yeah. I love the giant spider meal that they share. With, like, the bug juices boiling inside of the body, and they're ripping off the legs and just eating them like pieces of chicken. It's great.
Crunchy on the outside, soft on the inside.
Delish. And then Wolf kind of takes Kipo through some of her usual, you know, we're going to scavenge for supplies at the grocery store. She picks up a couple of useful things like a spot remover. And that's when we hit Jamak.
And, well, of course, Kipo finds out about the Mega Bunny because the Mega Bunny follows them. But, you know, I love Wolf being like rule number blah of the surface, right? Like, I will, good, you're good at school, great, learn from me, kid, you know. And she's just such a tiny feral child. But yes, Jamak is a frog who is a little larger than you would expect. I assume he's like, I don't know, man, if Kipo and Wolf are like 4-ish feet tall, he's probably like 5 something. Walking on 2 legs, wearing a suit, very territorial about where his stuff is and strangers in his place. And I love that Wolf is like instantly aggressive. There's something really nice about like a little girl just being that way, where it's just like they're instantly aggressive and on guard at everything, which they've had to be, right? Like, Wolf has had a difficult life. Like, no one's here to disagree with that. I just find it hilarious that she just like is instantly with her Death Stalker stick, which
Hit
can
first,
poison.
questions later.
Yes, exactly. But so through a farcical series of events. A spot ends up on Jamak's shirt, and Wolf holds it hostage with the spot remover she has.
And that's why she picked up Spot Remover. You know, it's like, I think that they do something really cool with Wolf and the world and Kipo, where they explain just enough to keep you interested and just enough so that you aren't sitting in the show confused. But they also leave a lot open to interpretation, and they also don't, I think, over-explain things. You know, like they never needed to tell us that there was some kind of climate event and the entire world went through an apocalypse. It was just made immediately obvious, right? And I don't think they even really needed to tell us that it's been hundreds of years, because when Wolf takes Kipo to the lookout spot to try and figure out where Kipo's family's burrow was, it's a highway. It's an interlaced part of a highway, but no one in the show is going to call it that, because who cares, right? That's the clover. That's all that is now. It's a clover.
It's a clover. It's a clover. No one has driven a car in in X amount of time.
Because we don't have gas anymore, right? So everyone rides bikes, and bikes are a hot commodity. You know, I don't know where the Mod Frogs get their suits, but you know, like they do kind of this cool thing. And so we get Wolf kind of giving Kipo advice about the world, but really just like the bare minimum to keep Kipo alive. You know, like, don't shout, that's Death Ivy, don't walk into it. But Wolf isn't going to explain to Kipo that the reason we're taking Spot Remover is because I'm bringing you to a lookout spot, and that lookout spot is Jamak's private office. And the only way to get away from Jamak is to use the Spot Remover, right?
Right.
So we also,
so
kind of just so good. So good.
It's just
also
the storytelling is just so solid, and I love how much they show you. And you may not like. And again, if you're dropped into the middle of the story, like the way this drops you into the middle of everything, you're either going to go with it or you're not, and that's like totally cool. I would say much like Fringe, if you don't like the first episode of the show. It's not really a formula that the show follows, but if you're not like, if you don't like stuff just kind of happening, maybe it's not for you. Just happening, but also in like not in a way that is nonsensical, right? Like sometimes when Wolf picks up some Febreze, you just have to roll with it. And then, of course, 2 minutes later, they explain that the Febreze is in case you touch a baby bunny and you smell like a baby bunny. It's a very useful thing to have, that Febreze. I just love that Wolf is like, you probably touched a baby bunny. Hang on. Let's go grab it.
I'm just going to grab some of this for you.
Aisle 9. Aisle 9. We're just going to grab something else.
I think that we get the idea. We get the idea that they're looking for humans.
Right.
So it's like this little crumb of information, because then your brain goes like, why are they looking for humans? Do they eat humans? Do they, like where are all the surface humans? Why is Jamak hunting them down?
Right.
So that's what we
specifically burrow humans.
Specifically burrow humans. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a really good point.
It's one of those things where it's like, if she's looking for her home, then she could lead me to other humans, you know? And he gets his posse together, who I absolutely adore. I love his two not henchmen, quote unquote. I don't know.
And I like that they're different kinds of frogs, too. Like, one of them is those rainforest tree frogs with the big red eyes, and one of them is like a bullfrog, sort of. And no,
like
they're
a giant
awesome.
bullfrog. No, amazing. Amazing. I also really like how they get around with their car, and they basically have flies and dragonflies drag around these cars.
Exactly, because that's the whole thing. There's no more gas. There's no more gas.
And I love how industrious. It's just like, well, we're just going to get a giant dragonfly. Why wouldn't we? Whatever.
Giant dragonfly, here we go. Like chariot style.
Yes, exactly.
That chase sequence had such great music. I like the soundtrack of this show.
Yes. So the music in the show is some of the best music I think I've ever heard in an animated series. It's just it's so visceral, and it's like, obviously a lot of it is based in hip hop, and a lot of it is, just really allowed to kind of be out there, which I think a lot of other shows just don't. Not that other shows have bad music, but like, I just feel like it uses a lot more pop and hip hop elements in it than I think I've heard in any other cartoon ever. And like good hip hop. Like, look, we had hip hop in the 80s for cartoons that was not good. This is good hip hop. It's solid. I also really like the song that they play. I don't know if we heard it in these episodes. They tend to play a certain song for Wolf when she's fighting.
Okay.
And it's really solid. I have to look up what
I'll have to listen for it next time, because I was just so immersed in the whole thing, and I loved all of the music, but now it's all just kind of running together in my head.
So speaking of music, when Kipo and Wolf are hiding from Jamak and his gang, they come across a cocoon baby mute, and that brings us into our second episode. God, we're only up to 2 episodes, 35 minutes. Whoops. That's fine. Pilot episodes always got a little pilot shine on it. It's fine. It's fine. They are holed up in this house, and obviously abandoned. No one's lived here. Possibly ever. I don't know. It's obviously a house, but it's like very not lived in. And the second episode opens with Benson, who is out scavenging for, I assume supplies, but really it just ends up being soda. Because
I think he really was looking specifically for that soda, now that we know the purpose of that soda.
You might not be wrong.
I really think he was looking, specifically for that soda, because the minute he saw, like, that truck with the big name of the soda, Explosion Berries, emblazoned on the side, he was like, I'm going up there. And there's really no reason to go up to... There's really no reason to climb up, basically like an electrical tower, to a precariously perched truck, unless you are specifically looking for explosion berries. But what I also really love about Benson is just that he's a surface human, just like Wolf, and they introduced him in episode 2. And what Benson allows the show to do is show you immediately that not everyone reacts to the apocalypse in the same way. Wolf is that feral child, hardened character, lived a tough life, And Benson he's carefree. Scavenging for... He's carefree. He's got his buddy. He's scavenging for new tunes every time he comes across a car. He's just here for the ride, and he's here to have a good time. And you know what? The world ended. That means the rules ended. So now I don't have to follow any of them,
I love Benson so much. There's something about Benson. And he's kind of a hustler. He has like a similar optimism about him to Kipo, but definitely in that way of like, like you said, that hustler of like grifter, like how can I turn this to my advantage kind of way. And he's very unassuming, so you wouldn't think he would turn on you, but he will.
As evidenced by later episodes, which we will get to. But yes, Benson and Dave, who starts out as a baby, and we're just going to jump right into it. It is revealed through the show that that Dave has basically evolved, and I do not know why a creature would evolve in this way, because it is not helpful to one's survival in any way, shape, or form. But Dave has evolved in a way so that he actually goes through all the different stages of life in rapid succession, from baby all the way to adult, and then goes back to baby sometimes, and then goes through them all over again.
He sure does. I love that this is an addition to the... Sorry, I interrupted.
Nope, I just said it. It's amazing. That's all I said.
I mean, it is amazing. I love that the show introduces a character like this, because it's the chaos of, like, something that you can kind of zero in on, right? Like, once you know it happens, you can kind of expect it. But, like, nobody in their right mind would expect this. It's like one of the truly unique things about this show is to have a character like this. And one of, whatever, there's like a band of main characters. Kipo's the protagonist for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like to have one of the main characters be this chaotic all the time. And I just, it's so unique and so different. And just, again, like, the writing is just off the chain that you were able to just incorporate this into your thing. And I was like, I also love that, again, we're essentially introduced to this like it's not a big deal, right? Like Benson hears the baby crying and he's like, I'm coming, Dave, you big baby. You know what I mean? And I'm like, dude, like the baby just hatched from its cocoon, you know? So like, how on earth does Benson know that's Dave? Right? Like,
right. But it's that they've gone through this time many times over. Right.
Because the cycle is such that, like, it could be a couple hours, it could be a couple of days. I love Dave's awkward stage is, I think, my favorite. Although I don't know if you met him in these episodes, but there is like old man Dave, who I think is also
Not
secretly
really.
my favorite.
I haven't met old man Dave. I've met like super buff Dave, who is kind of fun and lasted
Super
for
buff
all
Dave.
of 3 seconds.
With wings. That could have been real. That could have come in handy just a couple of minutes ago, man. Just poor timing on your part. But yes, so we meet Dave, we meet Benson. Benson, in a fit of genius, is able to trick the frogs into leaving. We also get to see how the stinger works on Stalky, which is the name of the spear that Wolf carries around, which has a Death Stalker point, which is poisonous. And we get to sort of see that on a dragonfly and on Jamak. And it's pretty gnarly. Like, it really messes with them. I love that Wolf is instantly suspicious of Benson and Dave and just like, do not trust them. Do not talk to them. Do not tell them anything. And of course, Kipo doesn't listen and tells him everything.
Right. And ultimately, Wolf was half right, you know, because Benson and Dave steal Stocky and the bicycle. They go on a joyride. They don't even get away that quickly. They're like out listening to music on a joyride, you know, because it's like they didn't really want to steal it. They just wanted to have a good time.
Exactly. These are the good time dudes. These are just like, we're just here to party. Are you partying? Cool. We're going to join you for a bit and then peace out when the party gets boring. Like,
right. Or when the party gets too dangerous. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Which we'll see in another episode.
Yeah.
And so, they steal Stocky. They get it back. It's just, I love that Wolf just makes them instantly regret that they've stolen Stocky. You know?
Yeah.
Like, instant.
And episode 2, I think, was so fun because episode 2 is basically like, heist is the wrong word, but it's like an entire episode of deceive rolls. It's just like scheme after scheme after scheme after scheme. Because first it's Benson tricking them, and then it's Wolf getting Stocky back, and then Jamak and his crew arrive. And then Benson saves Kipo, but Benson gets captured. And then Kipo's like, well, we have to save Benson. And, you know, like,
and Wolf is like,
so
nope.
wild.
And then Wolf is like,
nope.
Fine.
Because Mondu helps Wolf escape from some bees by tricking the bees. See? Scheme.
Scheme.
And see, this is, I think, like part of what I really liked about this episode is that the Mega Bunny wasn't just a goof for the first episode. Like, the Mega Bunny is something that actually comes back because the way that Kipo helps everyone escape from Jamak and the rest of the Mod Frogs is that Kipo pretends to get captured by the Mod Frogs, but actually has a lump of baby bunny fur in her pocket. And so, you know, chaos ensues. I'm talking quickly because I'm also looking at the time. And we haven't even gotten to the next crew of critters. Because anyway, the Mega Bunny helps Kipo and team get away from Jamak and crew, and that's when the Timber Cats arrive.
The Timber Cats. And Kipo is, and the Timber Cats arrive at like this moment where the team is finally coming together, where they seem to all have the same footing because Kipo finds out that her burrow is actually empty. And she's like, I don't know where they went. I don't see any people. Like, they didn't die. I would see death, and like, they're not in the bunker. So they must have gone somewhere else. And like, we'll help you find them. And then immediately there's Timber Cats.
Timber Cats!
And they show up and you're just like, like, are they gonna chop them up with their axes? Are they gonna eat them? They might eat them. I don't know. Cats are carnivores.
Cats are carnivores. Now, you know, I initially thought this was a little bit of a lost opportunity, not calling them lumbercats, because lumbercats sound so much like lumberjacks. As we get it, you get it.
She sent me that message, and I was like, you may not be wrong.
But then at one point, one of the Timber Cats said, "Timber Cats assemble!" And I was like, nope, I'm sold. I'm in. That's why they called them Timber Cats.
Timber Cats for life.
Because you know what? A vague Thundercats reference, I suppose, trumps Lumberjacks, Lumbercats. Fine.
We'll allow it. We'll allow it. I love the Timber Cats for various reasons, which maybe we can get into a little bit. Like, I love that they sing. I love that they fight. I love that they feel like cats.
Yes.
I love that their leader is the most cat I've ever seen in a cartoon. Yeah, like, Yum Yum owns you all is 100% a thing that I believe cats that I have like had as pets have thought to themselves, you know?
Or when, like, every time the cats are talking about their leader, they look up at the sky like, Yum Yum, you know, and then they look up and Kipo just naturally assumes that Yum Yum has died, because when one says a person's name sadly and looks at the sky, you assume, that person is dead. But you know what it is? Yum Yum is not dead. Yum Yum went up a tree,
above the canopy,
got stuck. Yum Yum got stuck at the top of a tree. And then it's not even that Yum Yum is stuck at the top of the tree and needs to be saved by a firefighter. It's that Yum Yum went to the top of the canopy, saw a butterfly, and has been chasing a butterfly for 3 days.
Because the butterfly has the spirit of the scratching tree within him that he has named Charlie, I think it was.
Yes.
And I was just, the more time we spend with Yum
Charles,
Yum, the more I'm just like, this is a cat. This is a cat that I have had as a pet.
This is a cat. He went up a tree.
Also,
got distracted for 3 days.
I know we love Yum Yum, and I love him to bits. I do want to talk real briefly about, is her name Molly?
Yes.
I think her name is Molly.
Yeah. Molly.
She's so good. That is, I believe the voice actor for Molly is a singer. I want to see if I can find her name real quick. Yes, Leah Delaria. She's an actress, she's a writer. it's one of those things, like, if you know who she is, you know who she is. She's done a bunch of different things. And she always has this the thing I love most is she always has this really interesting sort of hairstyle where it's like shaved on the sides and it's like braided down the middle, which is why Molly has that hairstyle. And I'm dying. I love it so much. I love everything about it.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful, like, tribute to her playing this character, and also just her being great. Also, the voice acting in general in this entire show is amazing, but maybe we'll save that for episode 2.
Because we just don't have time. There's so much that happens.
There's so much that happens. So,
I could talk about these cats for 40 minutes.
No, so what I will say, plot-wise, we run into these cats, and of course, Wolf and Benson are instantly like, don't trust them, don't talk to them, we're just going to figure out a way to escape. Well, you know, I mean, especially Wolf, right? Especially, like, the feral child is just like, leave me alone, because she's also the one who will more than likely, you know, scratch back if they try to attack her. But, like, Kipo is not that person. And they're, you know, they're trying to decide what to do with these humans. They kept them in a litter prison while they transported them to their camp.
It's a literal litter.
It is.
Like, it is carried on the backs of 4 cats, but it's also filled with litter.
I know.
This show.
The writers had so much fun with that. Guaranteed.
They had a lot of fun.
And what's even funnier about that is I feel like I've seen that specific litter box before, like with the cardboard.
Yes.
Like the cardboard cage, not cage looking thing. And they arrive at their camp, and Yum Yum's pet, Pierre, which is a giant tick, is running amok, jumping from tree to tree, destroying stuff. And they're just like, okay, someone has to put a leash on Pierre. Who's going to do it? And Kipo raises her hand because she wants to be friends with these cats. And she's just like, you guys have an army. If my fellow burrow humans are in trouble, we're going to need help. You know, obviously a mega mute destroyed our home. We're going to need bodies, you know?
And listen, like, she's not wrong, right? Ultimately... Nope. Yes, obviously don't run headlong into danger or hug to death, Ivy. But sometimes, rather than fighting everything you meet, it can help to befriend, right? Because they wouldn't have stood a chance against these cats if they had tried to fight the cats. Like, the cats all have guitars,
not.
But the cats' guitars double as axes. So these are axe guitar wielding cats with giant claws who are also the equivalent of 6 feet tall. These are basically apex predators. They just happen to be,
look at me, I wrote down stuck up in a tree, lol.
Lol. They're apex predators who get distracted sometimes, but they're apex predators.
Exactly. And I just love that there's like infighting. And
eat them, bat them, eat them, bat them.
They are so cats. But anyway, the how our quote unquote heroes get away is Benson is like, you have to try my world famous flapjacks, and he puts hair from a cat into the batter, and this gives all the cats hairballs. And I felt so bad for all those cats.
I know, but they're fine.
I was just like, oh no, they're fine. They're fine. It was just hilarious, especially because it's right in the middle of their song. How much hair did we put in? A lot. We put in a lot.
The cat that was once super fluffy is now hairless. That's how much fur they put in.
It's now a hairless cat. I love that they live in trees and that they have yarn balls. And it's, again, we could talk for 40 minutes about these cats, but we won't. So Kipo goes up to talk to Yum Yum. And I feel like this is the first time we really get Kipo in a moment where she's just like, pull yourself together. You know, like, we haven't seen commanding Kipo, right? Until this moment, really. And I love that it's like, you know, Yum Yum ran up this tree because it's like, what was he going to do against a Mega Mute?
Right. Yeah. He ran. He was scared.
Yeah. And
now he's embarrassed.
Mm-hmm. And Kipo has to be like, well, yeah, you were, like sometimes you get scared, but like you had, like your people need you. You have to go back. Mm-hmm. You have to come down out of this tree. And I love that Kipo essentially tackles him into coming back down.
I think that this is a really nice character moment for Kipo.
I think so too. I feel like she gets, her strength from the way she observes the stuff around her and how she can apply what she knows to it,
Yeah.
And I
just
love that it's not just about making friends, right?
Yes. It's also about being open-minded and taking a moment to be compassionate and to understand the person who's sitting across the table from you. Proverbial table, right? So she pauses, she takes a look at Yum Yum, and she understands immediately exactly what has gone on here, right? And I think that her being a leader in this moment, in a way that still allows her to be the optimistic character we've known her all along, right? Because at the end of the day, what she's basically saying to Yum Yum is like, no one's going to be mad at you, dude. Like, no one's going to be upset. They're going to forgive you. Just go back,
Right.
Like she's convincing him that it's not going to be as bad as he thinks it is. And she's right. She shoves him out of the tree and it's like nothing has ever happened.
Yeah.
The cats are just so happy to have him back.
I love that he just half runs, half falls out of that tree and into the waiting crowd below. And I also wrote down that Kipo read you for filth. She just, like, I love that she's able to, exactly like you said, listen, take it in, digest it, and sort of understand what the situation needs, but also understand that, like, this isn't the end of the, this isn't the end of the line for Yum Yum. All he has to do is literally get out of the tree.
Exactly.
That's it.
Exactly. And then he does, and then they have an army, which takes us to episode 4, Cactus Town.
Cactus Town. Okay, so I love that there's a war between, like, the cats and the snakes.
What are the other little critters that live in the desert, though?
Like a hamster?
Like the hamster, gopher, something things, lemmings. I don't know what they are.
Lemmings. I think it's definitely supposed to be a rodent. Let's go with hamster.
But like, what kind of rodent lives in the desert? I think what I'm missing here is some very basic knowledge about the desert and what a desert environment is like. Because I think there's got to be a little critter.
Maybe it's like a mouse. I feel like there's
a desert
mouse,
mice, but they don't have tails.
They don't have tails and they don't have big ears.
So what are they?
I don't know.
Gopher.
Lemming. They might be gophers. It might be groundhog.
Fluffy things. Groundhogs, whatever they are.
They're so cute.
They're so cute. They get put in labyrinths constantly by these snakes, who I assume also feed on them, poor things. So I think that these things are food for the snakes.
I feel like, okay, so the relation, and this is a little too dark for the show we're watching, I think. But if I think about it a little too hard, what it comes across as for me is like, like having animals on a farm, which are also animals to have, but also animals that you eat sometimes, like sometimes you slaughter that lamb that you reared from being a tiny.
Yeah.
Because you needed Sunday dinner. And that's what these rodents feel like to the snakes. I feel like they keep them sort of as pets, but like, if we get peckish, we might eat you.
Exactly.
And I love the snakes, but like only in relation to the cats. Like, I love that they're rock and roll and the cats are like country rock.
Yeah.
Right. I was waiting. Well, country rock. That's a genre.
Don't ask me.
I think. The headbangingness of the snakes.
Yes.
Like they're obviously hair metal band, death rock. And the cats are not.
And the cats are not. They think the cats are, I don't know. Is there a nice way to say just like cats that live out in the country and don't know what good music is? Now, can we discuss, though, like, how much fun did the writers have? And how many laughs did they have in their little writer's room when they called the snakes the umlaut snakes?
Oh, I know.
Are you serious? Are you serious? Now, for the bite marks, I still think it's funny. Like, every time I see it, I think it's funny.
I know. There's something about, like, the shape of a thing, recognizing the shape of a thing. I love the hissing contest.
The hissing! Their hiss off! Because of course they would both hiss at each other, because cats hiss and snakes hiss. It's fantastic. Now, okay, putting aside very briefly the animal hijinks in this episode also gives us our first like real infighting within the team. You know, because in this episode, there's just like sidebar after sidebar after sidebar after sidebar. Yeah. Because, you know, Wolf is being very insistent on the way that she thinks things should be done in order to keep everyone safe. And Benson and Dave are realizing that this is no longer the super fun, carefree adventure it was. They are now inching closer and closer and closer and closer to true danger.
Yeah, legitimate danger. I mean, like, when you go looking for a mega mute that can, like, destroy a town, it gets serious.
Yeah, and that's what they're realizing. They're realizing, oh, this is not an adventure. This is a mission.
Right.
And maybe we don't want to be on it.
Yes. And Kipo, being Kipo, is just like, okay, you know, I'll listen to you, Wolf. And then she promptly doesn't. You know, and like, I love that we get this conflict so soon, and that the conflict is very serious, but also like that both characters can understand where it comes from, right? Like Benson and Wolf are like already know, like, please don't try to make friends with the snakes. It's not going to go well. Please don't. Yeah. You know, and Kipo just goes ahead and does it. And like we can establish this tension between the three of them. I mean, look, Dave, I feel like of all the characters, Dave is definitely along for the ride until it gets dangerous, right? Like, he might have an opinion, but he's not the three humans, right? Yeah. And obviously most of the tension is going to happen between Wolf and Kipo because they are so different. I really like that we get, you know, Wolf being like, you have to follow what I say. And instead of doing that, Kipo does her own thing, and it actually works out. And like in any other circumstance, you'd be dead.
Right. Like frustratingly, infuriatingly, it works out.
Yes. I knew you would identify with Wolf. I was like watching it, and I was like,
I'm like, she sang to the thing, and it just worked. And of course, it was the song from the flashback at the beginning of the episode, which was very sweet.
Yes. And we also know a little bit, well, I guess we can touch on this a bit too. We learn a little bit more about Kipo's dad. We learn a little bit more about what happened before she was shot out of a pipe and into water. You know, they heard a large mute up above them, and they like, you know, joked about, gee, I wonder what it is. But then when her father hears that it's like digging into the burrow, his first reaction is, oh no, they found us. And he basically yanks on Kipo's cord because they were rock climbing, because what else are you going to do? And yanks on the cord and makes her drop into the water. And he tries to follow her, but you know, it's water. You're only going to be able to.
And the entrance to the tunnel is immediately blocked by a bunch of falling rocks because the ceiling is caving in. And this megamute that they encounter at the end of episode 4 is this huge monkey. I didn't notice if it had a tail. Monkey?
It's a monkey.
Okay, was this huge monkey, like so big that it was able to hold a whole tree like a stick. And then use that stick kind of the way that in real life monkeys do to anthills. You know?
Yes.
Like real life monkeys do this to anthills where they'll kind of like stick a stick in there. Poke a stick in there. There we go. They'll poke a stick into the anthill, and basically, as the ants come out onto the stick, we'll just kind of slurp them up. Right?
Right.
So this is a big mute.
Really, really, really big.
Big mute who, it turns out, is being mind controlled. And I thought that's kind of what I was alluding to earlier when I said that I thought that this was actually a really nice point to kind of hit pause and take a break and discuss, because this is where, you know, we've heard Scarlemagne's name come up a couple of times as the big bad in the show. But early on, it just, you know, like, oh, maybe there's just another gang of animals, you know, like how the cats have Yum Yum and the frogs have Jamok's boss. I can't remember Jamok's boss's name. Or the snakes have Cotton.
She's really cool. Or the snakes of Cotton.
The snakes of Cotton, right? Like every gang of animals has a leader, but this makes it abundantly clear that Scarlemagne is something very, very different, because Scarlemagne is someone who's able to create devices that I don't think that anyone else in the show really uses. Like the only electronic that we really see used in this show so far is a Walkman, right?
Right.
Like Benson's Walkman. Other than that, the cars are driven by dragonflies. They all ride bikes, and their instruments are guitars because they know how to make one thing. But for some reason, there's a collar, and the collar can control minds. So like that's cool. I thought that was pretty intriguing.
Yeah, I love the giant monkey. I think the giant monkey's great. You know, it lends itself this sort of immediate about face, because you only hear about this mega mute that like destroyed the burrow and stole their scratching tree and did all these terrible things and ruined these communities. And then you find out that it's not really the monkey that's doing it, right? It's Scarlemagne. It's something else.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's Scarlemagne. It's this thing that it's just like, she's just a weapon.
Yeah.
The giant monkey is just a weapon. And what's more horrifying than that? But I love that the episode kind of ends on this hopeful note where Benson's like, I know where we might be able to find some information, you know? And like, that was where I was like,
street smarts.
Street smarts, which is like intercapped. Street smarts. I feel like it's time for one more things. We didn't do too badly with that summary.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so. I'm trying to think.
Do you have one more thing?
I know I wrote something down. What did I say?
Okay.
Oh, I wrote down, because we didn't really talk about it, but I wanted to just reference Kipo talking about her surface face with like, I'm angry and I've been hardened by the surface and I talk like this.
It was very like, hello, fellow humans.
Yeah. Exactly. You could tell she was desperately trying to act like Wolf, and it was just coming off like a parody. It was so silly.
For anyone who hasn't seen The Dragon Prince, that was a Dragon Prince reference. See, I've seen other animated shows. I just haven't happened to see this one.
Fair. I haven't finished Dragon Prince. Maybe we should get around to
that. I've gone opposite and mentioned like 4 shows in this episode that I've seen.
See? There you go.
You know, see it on TV.
Maybe we should take it away as a free space.
Okay, what's my one more thing? My one more thing is something very small, and you know what? It's cat related, because how do I not? It's just, It is one final line said by the cats, which is that when Yum Yum is saying goodbye, when Yum Yum is saying
in my head.
Goodbye to Kipo, he says, "We owe you a great debt because Kipo helped them get their scratching stick back." And then he hands her a can of tuna and says, "Should you ever need us, just open this can of tuna and help will come."
It's so good.
And I died inside. Because when you open a can of tuna, a cat comes running.
So good.
So good.
This is also where I was like, we should watch Kipo next because I feel like it is the closest thing to who we are as people. Like these timber cats, the references they make.
It's going to be really hard for this show to give me another group of animals that I love as much as I love the timber cats. And it's not the show's fault. It's because I really, really, really like cats. And they really, like you said, out-catted any other cats I've ever seen on TV. But,
so much good cat.
I also really like Dave. So, got that going.
Dave is such a good character. I love everything about this show. They're just great. I'm looking forward to watching more with you. It's such a good show.
Yeah, me too. I'm genuinely excited to keep watching this show. But until next time, we would love to hear from you. Check us out at Binge O'Clock Pod on Twitter and Facebook, where you can answer the question, what is your favorite soda? You can also email us at bingeoclockpod@gmail.com. And don't forget, we have a Patreon. Find us at patreon.com/bachpod.
That's right, and tell your friends, tell your family, tell your loved ones, tell the live lobsters in your life about Binge O'Clock, and we will see you next time.